Hi, it's Ruth Pringle here. I am an English language coach and I'm based in Perthshire in Scotland. And I want to talk to you a little bit about Perthshire. It is a huge region. It's in quite central Scotland, so kind of central north, and it stretches into the Highlands. So parts of Perthshire are really very rural, very mountainous, and you just have quite incredible mountainscapes and scenes. And then it also stretches um, sort of into central Scotland, really, and touches onto the Trossachs and Loch Lomond National Park, which are very famously wooded areas with lots of lochs and trees and forest walks. And so, two very beautiful ways of seeing Scotland. And we have both. We have both. We have mountainscapes and we also have huge forests. It's known as Big Tree County because it's got areas which just have like really, really tall trees and big, wide rivers. It's a really great region for walking, for hill climbing, for canoeing, for fishing. It's very famous for its salmon fishing if you're into that kind of thing. I just say that to give you an example of the type of rivers you can expect. Really nice wide rivers. People go canoeing in Perthshire. That's a lovely way of seeing the landscape. You basically have the wildlife to yourself when you're in a canoe in Perthshire. You start at one point higher in the river and follow the river down, and then as you go around a bend in the river, then who knows what wildlife you'll see. You're quite likely to see heron and ducks. You're less likely, but it does happen, less likely to see beavers. And yeah, it's an extraordinary way of seeing the landscape. And then quite often parts of the river, there is no footpath beside, so you just have the banks of the river and the trees and the wildlife, and you're in this kind of almost silent canoe going through it, just seeing it. So it's a wonderful way to see it, a wonderful way to experience Perthshire. Another way to experience Perthshire is through its food. It's quite a agricultural region, so it produces a lot of farm livestock, but also produces a lot of kind of artisanal produce like oils, breads, cheeses, and yeah, and these as well as obviously the vegetables and the things grown on the farm. But it's got a really good reputation for not just cooking in restaurants, but for providing ingredients for the rest of Scotland and for the UK. Oh, I forgot fruit. Lots of fresh fruit like strawberries, and really the Perthshire strawberries are just incredible. So yeah, it's referred to as Scotland's larder, Perthshire, because it does produce a lot of really fresh, lovely ingredients that then get turned into interesting produce by makers who are all over the region. So in Perthshire, we've got winemakers, cheesemakers, bread makers, a huge variety of people who produce lovely, lovely, lovely produce from the freshest and best ingredients, really. So Perthshire is such a healthy place to be. It's healthy because of the abundant nature. It's healthy just because of the growers and um, the food produce that you can eat and experience here. And then one other kind of gem in the Perthshire landscape is the artists. So right across Perthshire, there's lots of different artist studios or craftsperson studios, workshops. It's a region that just has a huge range of local makers. In fact, Perth, the city of Perth and the region Perthshire are the UK's only UNESCO City of Craft. So the only area in the whole of the UK that has been designated to be of note for its craft culture, its making culture. So we have people who work with wood and make furniture. We have painters, printmakers, potters, leather workers. We have illustrators, designers, graphic designers. We've got a huge range of creative professionals here. And they're here because Perthshire is quite central. So it's easy to get to Edinburgh and Glasgow or Dundee, which are the kind of creative hubs for Scotland. But then it's also affordable to have a workshop space because it's in the landscape. There's not the same competition for space as you get inside cities. So our makers tend to have their workshops in rural spaces. There are some in Perth, and there's a community in Perth as well, WASP Studios, the Creative Exchange, which has a number of artists working together in one space. But there's probably, let me think, maybe 15, 20 artists in Creative Exchange. Throughout Perthshire, there's at least 150 professional artists and designers. And with really cool, interesting spaces to visit. So what we do with our English language school is we take people who have an interest in learning English, improving their English, and wanting to put their English into practice inside professional contexts, and to just get lots and lots of conversation practice, lots of speaking. And we share our amazing nature, and we give people the experience of just being in the natural environment of Perthshire in wonderful ways. So sometimes canoeing, sometimes by bicycle, we've got it covered. And then we obviously help them find food and drink that we want to share and tell them the stories associated with the produce. So it's a way of kind of learning Scottish culture through food and through drink. And then we visit artists, we visit makers in their studios, and that is just such a good opportunity for you to be practicing your English. You're meeting people, you're discovering their work, you're asking questions, you're sharing information about yourself and what you do. It's relaxed. We'll have a cup of coffee, we'll have a chat, we'll discover the artist's work in a really nice, intimate way. In the process, we discover Perthshire because we've got to get to the artist studios and we've got to follow the windy roads and explore the villages as we go. But yeah, we have like lots of English language conversation practice in these different contexts. And by doing this, having an English language holiday with us, you're actually supporting the local makers because we compensate the makers for their time. So we pay the artists for the time that they spend in their studio sharing their work with you, which I'm so excited about. I love being part of the creative community in Perthshire. I love supporting the creative community in Perthshire, and I love the fact that in a small way, my holidays are enabling them to be in their studio making work, which I just think is worth celebrating, completely worth celebrating. Okay, so if that sounds like interest to you, I'll put the details in the information below this video. And yeah, if you are tempted by a Blue 9 English immersion holiday in Scotland, in Perthshire, we are taking bookings for 2024. So I'd love to see you. All right. Okay. Thanks. Bye.